Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. I'm excited tonight because you know what? It's official. Our merchandise is out there. So when you go inside the chat link, go ahead and look for it. And then you can find your favorite South Florida Tribune and Motor City Madmouth merchandise out there. So feel free to click on the link provided in the chat. I'm also happy because I got a couple of new fresh voices and faces here to the broadcast on the Sports Exchange. I want to introduce Leo Haggerty, a guy that I work with as well on Friday. Welcome to the big show, Leo.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott. Finally get to get on with you on your own show.
Well, you know, I'm hoping you'll be coming on more often. I love working with you on Ralph's show, so it was a natural bringing you on here, and I'm glad we get to do this. So with that said, but you know what, Leo, Joshua Dorr, one of our biggest followers, wants you to do a dog check. So just say dog check.
Dog check.
There you go. Good enough, Josh. All right. With that said, Bo knows that drill all too well. There you go. With that said, Bo knows that drill, so you don't have to say it. But Bo, welcome to the Sports Exchange.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
And last but not least, we got George Eichhorn.
Hey, good to be with all of you tonight. Let's have a great show.
We'll do that. We got a loaded show. We're talking golf, we're talking football, and we're talking basketball. With that said, let me get to the first topic. Okay, Bo, obviously, I guess you want to defer with this, but the topic is anyway, the PGA Championship invites 7 LIV players. Is this good for golf? Bo, what do you know?
Well, so I don't follow golf. To me, it is a drinking game with my friends. That being said, they're going to have to do something like that because the LIV Tour, although they're throwing a lot of money at it, just isn't. They're just not competing quite the same way. So they're going to have to incorporate some of them to bring some balance to golf in general. So it'll probably be fine.
Okay, that's good enough. George?
I was encouraged by the move, guys, because last year they had a sort of a tentative kind of announcement that they were going to try to work together more often. And the PGA Championship, which obviously is one of the Grand Slam events, is going back to Valhalla in Louisville, Kentucky for the 4th time. And that's, I believe, May 16th to the 19th. And I think it is good because I want to see all of these stars that are supposed to be the top players in the world. And the fact that they are allowing 7 of them from the LIV Tour to be part of the PGA of America's event, which is, like I said, a Grand Slam event, the PGA Championship. I'm encouraged by that. I know they say that the negotiating or the talks between those two tours is not maybe progressing as fast as some people would like. But like I said, when you got a big event like this, I think it's important for the fans, for the viewers, television viewers, and of course the golfers themselves to be in the same great tournament of these Grand Slam events. So, I'm glad that LIV got a few slots in there. And also I understand Tiger Woods is going to play too. So that it should be a really good field.
All right, Candy, go to Joshua Dorr's comment and falls into the GMTA stand. Great minds think alike. We know that Bo is not a big fan of dog checks. We got that part. Okay, that's fine. Leo's a new guy. He gets used to it with dealing with you guys. Golf is better when the best players are in the same field. No question about Joshua. It is. And George and I experienced with the cart and the Indy Series. We're not going to get into that, but you're better off reunited instead of not being united. With that said, Leo, you have the last word on this.
Well, you know what, guys? I don't care who you invite as long as his name's not Jesus Christ. Scotty Scheffler's, he's on fire right now. Let's be honest. The last 5 events, he's won 2, sandwiched the second place, and then won the next 2. There's nobody hotter. And I said this, and Scott, I think you can remember this, like 2 or 3 months ago. Scotty Scheffler ever figures out how to putt, no one's going to beat him. All of a sudden, he changed putters. And look what he's doing now. So, yeah, bring anybody you want to. Scotty Scheffler's on fire right now.
Well done. Hey, Bo, I hate to ask you this, but Joshua's doing a question. Bo, why are you anti-dog check?
Yeah, just not my thing. I don't know.
Okay.
But
that's good enough.
you get plenty of other, participation. So
Was a question for Leo. Are you a hockey fan?
Oh, absolutely. I can even tell you what offsides is. So yeah, you got to be a hockey fan, right?
Well, good. Next time we bring you on the show, we'll do more hockey. Tonight, though, we're going to stick to the business at hand. And yes, Joshua Dorsey.
Real quick, you talked about NASCAR. How about that finish in Kansas in the Advent
Oh, yeah.
400? Have you ever seen that close a finish where paint was the difference in one team winning the other? Wow.
Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well talk about the incredible finish of the Kentucky Derby as well.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what was it, a 3-horse photo finish? My goodness, that was unbelievable.
And Mystic Dan won by a nose hair. Not a nose, a nose hair. That's how close it was. And I'll tell you what, I didn't think anything could top that. And then the Advent Hill 400, that I've never seen a NASCAR finish that close. So yeah, we had 2 great finishes.
It doesn't happen that often, but Scott and I know that there was a real close one at Indy 500 too one year. Way back in the 80s, I believe it was. But it was a great race.
Yeah, 1,000th of a second is crazy. Like that
it
is
really is.
You can possibly get right there. Any closer than that, they were going to have to add a digit to the to the counter.
And yet, ironically, they occurred on the same weekend. So you talk about incredible finishes in the first week of May. Can you imagine what kind of a sports month we're in for? I don't know. All right, next, onwards we go. Aaron Donald, JJWatt, talking about unretirement for this year. All right, George, I'll let you lead off with this guy.
Well, you might as well throw Tom Brady in again. These guys, they talk about retirement, but you know what? I got to say this, that it is not just recently. We've seen a lot of guys do this, and ladies, where they want to come out of retirement. Their athletic careers, they announce as being finished or over or concluded. And then all of a sudden they say, gee, what am I going to do with my time? Or, gee, I could still hit the golf ball, or I could still throw the football. Doesn't surprise me. I do not know if this is going to happen with those guys, but boy, oh boy, you talk about getting the itch to come and come out of retirement and resume your pro career. I shouldn't say start it, resume it. I don't know. I'm not them. I can't speak for them. I assume they're in a physical condition that would allow it. But maybe you can shed more light on it, Bo, because I don't know. It obviously must revert back to the last team they played for as far as who has the rights to the player, even though they don't have a current contract. But I don't want to get into all that minutia unless you guys want to. But I don't mind, Scott. I mean, if that's what they want to do, and there's a suitor out there or a buyer out there, all the more power to them. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, let me go to Joshua Door real quick before we put Bo in here, because you've got a Bo in there anyways. Bruins in 5, you changed your tune pretty good. Bo is not a fan of Josh and the guys.
It's funny. I have no problem with the guys. I just not jumping in on the dog checks. Like, I don't know.
Come on, Josh, do me a favor. Don't get overly sensitive here for crying out loud. Yeah. You guys are here to talk sports. That's not there aren't many shows that talk about dog checks. We allow it to go. Many years ago, I used to be a fan of greyhound racing, many years ago. And in fact, I'm going to, before I turn it over to Leo and Bo, well, no, you know what? I'll get to the dog racing story in a minute. So, Bo, since it was your topic, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, so, I mean, the two are different, right? Because JJWatt has been removed from the sport for a couple of years now, right? And Aaron Donald, he walked away at the end of this last season. So he would, if he were to come back, he would be a Ram, right? That's how he would land. And it seems like for Aaron Donald, because he definitely still has, life in the tank. And I think the time away from football can make you realize maybe you're not quite done. So I think Aaron Donald probably has the best chance of coming back. When you listen to JJWatt, he sent the message out to D'Amico as, hey, if you really need me, I'm still training like I played. Give me a call, but only if you really need me. And he would add an interesting element to that team. But that one seems like a a less likely scenario. But Aaron Donald coming back, it could be a very real thing. And as a fan of the Seahawks, he would land in my division. And so I hope he stays retired.
That is funny.
For for my quarterback's sake, I'd like to see that as a sports analyst. Obviously, you want to see him back on the field because he's one of the best to ever do it.
All right, that's interesting. Okay, Leo.
You know what, guys? I hate to deal with the minutia, but they got to come back to their teams that has a contract on them. So I got a feeling that the Bucks and the Rams and Houston, they could get a whole lot of trade value for these guys. And you know what? If people even think Tom Brady can play anymore, that's, trust me, he's done. Stick a fork in. I'll tell you what, the last pass he made against Dallas, they were playing rock, paper, scissors in the Dallas secondary to figure out who was going to intercept it in the end zone. That's how bad that was. So, yeah, hey, it's time. And you know what? After that roast the other night, I don't know how you could even come back when you actually get up and say, hey, the NFL spent $20 million. I told him I did it. And you know what? There was no doubt he did it. That's the funny thing. So, why even bother? But, that's Aaron Donald, he's got a shot. JJ, maybe a little bit down the road. Brady, absolutely none.
All right, Candy to the chat. Candy to the chat room. Let's start off with Robert Wardell. Josh, I told you, Bo, don't try and poke the bear. He will destroy you. All right, now Joshua Dorr is a fan of yours, okay? Because Robert Wardell is in his head. Bring it on, Bo. All right, now I like this one here. This is a great one. This is a compliment from this guy, Leo. I can see Leo being a good ball buster. In other words, and he's nodding his head. We got to get Leo back on here. He's already winning the popularity in the chat anyway. Bo and I were talking about you in the queue at the draft party. It's humor. You got to be witty and really, Bo is professional. The thing in these guys is they're trying to be professional. Great minds think alike, Robert, but you know what? Joshua Dorr's learning. He's getting there. Once he understands our personalities, he even got Coach John Bonamago to say a dog check yesterday, and that wasn't easy to do. But he did get to do it once Coach figures it out. Which I was there.
Gosh, you would have had fun if you would have came to the draft party we were at. You'd have had a good time.
There you go. All right. Now, on to my dog story, okay? Once upon a time, I used to like to go to the Greyhound races here in Hollywood over on Pembroke Road and Pembroke Road and US 1. I enjoyed over the Hollywood dog track. Now, let me tell you this, okay? Many years ago, when I was doing a seminar out in El Paso, Texas, I went to the dog track out in Juarez, Mexico. And if anybody's ever been to Juarez, Mexico, is that a dirty place? But I figured, what the heck? So what I decided to do was I decided to bet on a dog named Bill Walton. I figured maybe the dog's got to be better than the actual basketball player. What do you think happened? Bill Walton, the dog, not the player, finishing last. My eyes started drinking in my pop, and I got sick off the water in Mexico and lost with Bill Walton. Go figure. But I still like Greyhound racing, Josh. And I don't know if that's worth a dog check, but at least you got a dog story out of me anyway. Now, as far as staying on point here, okay, with Donald, he's got a championship ring. If he comes back, it's gravy. JJWatt's yearning for that championship ring. I can actually see him coming back, and he's already stated he would to D'Amico Ryan, is what he said, if you really need me. So one has a ring, the other one doesn't. We'll see how it plays out from there. All right, well, let's keep it going. Next year, you're in Seattle. We'll make it happen. We're talking about all these parties, and also at the dog track in Mexico, they eat the lose. I don't even forget that. Thank God I had dinner.
Let me jump in here real quick. I'll be out in Seattle doing a football camp out at Pacific Lutheran in July. If you're out in Seattle there, big boy, let's get together.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Absolutely.
I told you. That's what we like to do. We bring on new people. When you come in that area, bingo. That's what you have there. Okay, so that's what it's all about. And like I said, I've dealt with a lot of individuals in sports media before. And when Leo and I go on Ralph Williams' External Bum Show, we have a lot of fun, don't we?
Oh, it's it's fair game from the time you walk in the door there, buddy. That's for sure.
Yeah, you and I definitely are the life of the show, and Ralph does what he's got to do. But when you put Scott and Leo at each other, I'll tell you what, it is it is a lot of fun, and there's never a dull moment when we go out there and get on.
We
That's
fought
why
about USF and FAU all year. I mean, hey, what the heck? It was fun.
Yeah, and we met over at USF at the Sundome, as I call it, not the Yingling Center. I never knew it as anything but the Sundome, and that's a place where I got my degree, and we did take a photo. So like I said, I'm looking forward to bringing Leo on more shows, because we just get to pick up where we left off on Fridays, right, Leo? Good stuff,
Absolutely. Right? Hey, it's not for the faint of heart. If you can't take it, get out of the kitchen, because it's getting hot.
Yeah, well, you know what? Ernie Harwell came up with that one. If you can't stand it, get out of the kitchen, just so you know. All right, so I don't know where you heard it. I heard it from Ernie. All right, third topic tonight. WA is mishandling a prime marketing opportunity. All right, Bo, need some clarification on this.
Yeah, so this is something that it's disappointing. Of course, here in Seattle, we live in a market that has a WNBA team, one that's been highly successful through the years, right? They won 4 championships. And you're coming off their best draft class ever, right? Most people have an idea of who the top 7 draftees were, right? And unlike a lot of drafts where there's a huge gap between the end of a season and then there's the draft and then another big gap before the season starts, for the WNBA, their national championship was just over a month ago, right? Lots of TV coverage, lots of hype around Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and, all of those top players, right? So then you go directly into the WNBA draft. Largest viewership it's ever had by a large margin, right? So then 2.5 weeks later, just a few days ago, we hit the preseason for the WNBA. What's crazy about it is I bet none of you even knew because they are not marketing it at all. And if they were smart about it, because people are still primed to watch basketball, right? NBA is in their they're in the playoffs right now, right? So in between these games, they could be hyping up these preseason games where they have, last year's national champion going against Caitlin Clark, the number 1 overall pick. Like, you could be hyping these things up, and their media train is just not really doing it at all. And so for most people, you'd have to look up the fact that preseason has already started. Even here in Seattle, you're not really seeing anything that's letting you know the WNBA has started. And they're sitting on all of this great media that they just went through the national championship, and they're doing absolutely nothing with it.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right, Leo, what's your take on this?
Not only are they sitting on it, they haven't realized that Caitlin Clark is the exponential change in the WNBA. I had my reporters fighting over who would cover her. That's how, you look at last year. Yeah, Connecticut had a good season with the men, but when you talk about one player, it was Caitlin Clark. Men, women, didn't matter. And you're exactly right. The WNBA is missing the boat on this because they should be hyping this up to the nth degree, because this is your one shot to get this done. You're not going to get another Caitlin Clark come out that somebody's hitting jump shots consistently from the logo. And they are, whoever is running the media for the WNBA, they need to be looking for a job, because they are missing the boat completely. Hey, that ship may have sailed. That's what's even worse about it.
Yeah.
All right, George.
No, the ship has not sailed, Leo. Settle down. I agree that.
I'm sorry, George. You're right. That ship has sunk. It hasn't sailed. It's sunk.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's far from that. Caitlin is going to do a good job. I do agree with Bo that they did skip a beat. I believe the reason is, don't forget, they still kowtow to the NBA. Mr. Silver, you got a commissioner of the WNBA, that lady that was there for the draft. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it just was not the best of timing because of the fact that the NBA was starting its postseason. I'm not giving them any excuse, okay? And I do agree that they, and like you said, Bo, well, then doggone make up for it now during the NBA playoffs. But don't forget, so much of that commercial time, every minute is allocated in those games by the networks. But if I'm ESPN or I'm ABC or whoever is doing the WNBA, Fox Sports, whatever, I want to be at the table there and I want to have that discussion, Bo. I agree that they should have talked about this a long time in advance. That, hey, look, it's a banner year for the NCAA women, and we need to, piggyback on this. I know exactly what you're saying. Detroit. Now imagine us. They took the WNBA team, the Detroit Shock, out of here, and as Scott knows, even though they won championships, even though they had great management from Bill Davidson and Tom Wilson, and Bill Lambier as head coach, I mean, Detroit lost that franchise. So don't. I mean, I know what you're saying, Leo. But no, don't bury them yet. Okay, don't bury the WNBA yet. There's still a lot of exciting teams. But like I said, I am with you on the fact that this marketing opportunity they cannot close the door on right now.
So
well,
go ahead. Let me float the conspiracy theory part of it. Is so because the NBA it does control. The WNBA, right? Like they're controlling interest in it. Are they realistically, especially with the new TV contract coming up, are they deliberately stunning the growth because it's a tax shelter for them?
You know what? I'll jump on that one because I think you're right. And here's what. My blog today was talking about what's broke and needs fixing. My blog was the NBA. There are 3 things in the NBA right now that really make it unwatchable for some people. One, the constant whining of players, especially superstars. Hey, you're not getting fouled every time you take a shot. Stop it. The second, the embellishment of contact. Look at the Knicks last night with DiVincenzo. I thought I was watching soccer. I was looking for Manchester United and Man City. Oh, City. And the third thing. The last 2 minutes of the game are the longest time. It is almost unbearable to watch the last 2 minutes of the NBA because they are reviewing every single call. It's terrible. So the NBA needs to get its house in order because they are losing viewers by the millions right now because it's just unwatchable.
All right, well, let me add a few things to this because this is a good topic, better than I thought it was, Bo, now that I hear what's coming out of it. Number one, maybe I took a dumb pill, but I'd like to know why the WNBA is on Ion Television, the home of crime shows, number one on Friday night. Number two, I also believe that Caitlin Clark's addition to the league will be the equivalent to Larry Bird and Magic Johnson to the NBA, when obviously the NBA was on tape delay. So I believe that this is an opportunity for Caitlin Clark by herself, okay, to go out there and make that impact. And by the way, as if it isn't good enough, she's already got a 7-figure endorsement deal to begin with. So if there's anybody that I could classify as a savior for the WNBA, Caitlin Clark will bring that audience, but give me a break. Ion Television, I'm used to watching crime shows on that. I'm not used to watching women's basketball. And I would think they'd have to rethink that thing. Hold on, George. Okay. I know the Detroit Shock lost. There's the Houston Comets. If you look at the WNBA, okay, how many championship teams did they lose that went defunct? Now, Leo, I'll tell you one thing about the NBA, what killed it. Forget about your 3 points, and I'll tell you why. Load management killed it, and Charles Barkley isn't helping it.
I don't disagree with you guys. And again,
What's that?
I don't disagree with you at all on any of this. But, the crazy part of this is that South Carolina goes undefeated. And that's a side story to Caitlin Clark. The fact that somebody doesn't see this, where the 4 of us say, Caitlin Clark, put her on the top of the mountain. She's there. She should be the face of the WNBA, and they're not doing that. Or if they're trying to do that, they're doing a piss poor job of it. That's for sure. Ion TV. Here's what's scary, Scott. Maybe that's the only network that wanted it before Caitlin Clark shows up. Now they're stuck with it.
Well, you know what? Great minds think alike, Leo. I'll leave it at that because that's a winner. Candy, come on here and do a little bit of promotion. 2 more topics to get to. I know that Leo and Bo have other shows. We got a couple more great topics to begin with. All right, Candy, take it away.
So if you see that red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share it to every one of your friends, family, anyone that you think would enjoy the show. We talk baseball on Monday nights. We talk football on Tuesday nights. Wednesday night, we talk all sports. You never know. It could be golf. It could be cornhole. It could be WNBA, NBA, NHL, hockey, NFL. You never know. Cornhole. All of the above. So make sure you check us out. Thursday nights is Pundits Pundit and Fire Up. Wednesday nights will be Motor City Mad Mouse Show to be debuting on another network. We do have a new online store. If you look at the chat, very first comments were a link to our new online store so you can get any kind of South Florida Tribune or Motor City Mad Mouth paraphernalia. If you need a new shirt and you want our logo on it to help us promote, we'd love you to go out. It's a grand opening sale, 20% off discounts right now. We also are available wherever you get your podcasts, any place. We have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Scott also wrote a book. His book is Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and Google Books, or wherever you want to. If you want to learn about the business, Scott's been in the business for over 40 years and how it has changed over time. If I talk too fast and you missed anything, scrolling at the bottom, it has it all. One last thing, if you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. And we'd also ask you to like and share other of our panelists. They have their own shows and networks, so please frequent them as well. Thank you. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, you know, I enjoyed the dialogue going on in the chat room between Joshua Dorr and Robert Wardell. This is really good. So, Josh, you really have to explain to Robert, okay, what your dog checks are all about. You really do, because this guy here is new to the program, but boy, I'll tell you, he's pretty good. You know, besides everybody trying to do him. Josh, I'll let you guys figure it out amongst yourself. 2 topics I want to get to. United Football League viewer numbers surprisingly good. Bo, give us the details.
Yeah, so I mean, it's something that I worried that this league was going to be stunted growth-wise because of when they were blending them together. They lose half the teams. They completely, alienate markets that they already had teams in. Right? They made it a regional sport by getting rid of Florida and New York, New Jersey, Seattle, Las Vegas, all those areas lost their teams. And so I was curious if people were really going to tune in. And the DC Defenders, their game this weekend had just over 1.2 million viewers. And so what it's showing you is that people are tuning in, and the need for spring football is there. It's, it's prevalent. So what it is it's encouraging that one of these leagues might finally work. I mean, that's really the biggest thing we're looking for here. And they've already started talking about they may start to add teams back in moving forward. Not for this season, obviously, but for next year, there's a potential. The year after, there's still, there's the same potential. So if the viewership can stay up, then we may actually see this thing start to grow back out of this regional sport that they created.
All right, Leo, what's your take on it?
You know what, guys? Let's be honest here. This league was starting to take off, the USFL, till COVID hit. I mean, Seattle was drawing 25,000 out there for their games, and then COVID hit and shut everything down. Tampa was drawing 20,000. Yeah, all of a sudden. And their idea of the kickoff was revolutionary. Look, the NFL's even adopted it because if you have 10 kickoffs in the NFL, 9 or 10 of them are not even going to be returned because these guys are kicking it out of the end zone. Now you kick it out of the end zone, the ball comes out to the 40. That's going to change a whole lot of thought by special team coaches. So, yeah, the NFL, they took that right away. I would love to see this work out for the United Football League, simply because now that 8 teams will become 12 next year. You'll start to get the teams back. You'll get a Florida team. You get back a New York, New Jersey team. Seattle deserves to come back in. Yeah, you're going to see that happen. Pittsburgh needs to come back in. So, yeah, I think you're going to see that happen because the smartest thing they did is these teams are playing in their home city. How dumb was it last year? They're all playing in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah.
I'm going to support that. Are you lost your mind here, guys?
Right.
You got to play where your name is. If I'm the the St. Louis Battle Cats or whatever they are,
Battle Hawks, get it right. There you go.
Put that out, the Battle Hawks, right? They got to play in next to the Mississippi River. They can't be playing in Canton, Ohio.
Well, they are. Actually, they're one of the best franchises in there, and they packed the place up, which I'll just say this before I turn over to George. The St. Louis Battlehawks, to me, are an example that the NFL should be back in St. Louis. It'll be for another day. And if you can draw well there, then you're doing well. I do want to add a couple things to it, though, unless you have more things that you want to say there, Leo. Anything you want to add to it?
No, that's enough. Hey, I defer to you, Scott. Let her rip.
Okay, well, number one, St. Louis Battlehawks are a model franchise in spring. Why do you think A.J. McCarron decided to leave Cincinnati to go back to the Battlehawks to continue to play? Well, he obviously knows he loves the city and he wants to play, and they put in 40,000 plus. Number two, last night's edition of Inside the Pigskin, we talked about Jake Bates, the Michigan Panthers kicker, who's kicked 3 60-yard field goals in 1 year. And when you talk about the historical significance, I don't think the NFL's had a kicker kick 3 in the league hasn't kicked 3 in a year. And we got this guy. So I'm talking about create and start. Now, when it comes to expansion, you better believe it's going to happen, and it's going to happen exponentially. And I'm glad that they did merge. And you can't forget the fact that you have Fox and ESPN working together, and they have a lot of resources and good commentators to promote the sport properly, and they're staying to 10 games. The only thing I'd like to see maybe is if you increase the amount of teams, at least maybe make it a 12-game season on top of playoffs and then go from there instead of 10. Other than that, I think this to me has been unbelievable. George, go ahead.
Well, we do have a team in Detroit, and just to correct you, Leo, last year there were 3 cities, not just Canton. Detroit was one of them, and I believe Birmingham and Canton. There were 3 cities last year. So Detroit was the home to the Michigan Panthers and the Philadelphia team.
Right.
That being said, we are not packing the place, okay? So Ford Field holds 63,000 for Lions games. We're lucky to get 10 to 12,000 this year that are showing up for the Panthers. I'm just laying it out there.
Can I ask a question?
They're not giving up on Detroit yet. Yeah, go ahead, Leo.
Is that because the Lions' success right now? Because that was the loudest stadium I've ever seen when Tampa Bay.
Well, no, I mean, that's a double-edged sword, okay? Because the Lions are successful means that a lot of people can't get tickets to the Lions. So I think that the spillover it was hoped for would come out for the Panthers in such a way. But that being said, don't forget the draft. I mean, that was the sole story for Detroit, hosting that draft, and people put up a lot of money to have parties and to have watch parties and to buy souvenirs and all that. So you got to give the Panthers a pass this year, only because so much has been happening with Detroit and the NFL and the Lions. So I know I'm contradicting what I said about 10 to 12,000, but I think that Detroit is still going to be a good franchise for them. But I agree with you guys, and the expansion, yes, definitely 4 more teams next year, Scott, no question about it. And you guys, Leo and Bo, talked about it too. I mean, you got to get back to New York, you got to get to Florida, got to get into some of the major areas as well. But no, I agree. They've done some innovative things. I think the UFL is here to stay.
Well, let me add this though. First of all, the Panthers haven't helped their cause any because their first two seasons weren't very good, anyways. They backed into the playoffs with I think an under 500 mark, and then the year before under Jeff Fisher they were awful at what 2-8.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if they can put together some winning seasons, we all know. Hey, listen, Detroit supports mediocre teams. What do you think if they get a winner? They're going to even go ballistic. Don't forget, many years ago at the Pontiac Silverdome, when the Michigan Panthers put 60,000 people in that stadium for a playoff game at the Silverdome way back then. So you don't give up on the Michigan Panthers at all. And I think that with any kind of legitimate success, they're going to be fine. All right, final topic of the night. Should Jamal Murray have gotten more than a $100,000 fine for throwing a heating pad at the ref during the game? All right, Leo, go ahead. I'll let Bo have the last word on this one.
Yeah, I think he should get a fine because he should have thrown something else in the heating pad. He should have thrown that guy a cane or a walker because, guys, how bad is the officiating right now in the NBA? Dear God, the whistle blows and 10 guys look around and go, what are they going to call? It's just terrible. And you can see the players are just getting frustrated. It's basically football and DVDs, which is terrible because they're allowing so much contact. I mean, Jalen Brunson has gotten 40 points 4 straight games in a row. That's because all he does is go in, he backs in, shoulders in, fakes up, and then boom, gets contact. So yeah, the NBA, they can't ignore it, but $100,000, I don't know. That's a little steep for me.
Yeah, to me, it's a slap on the wrist. All right, let's go to the chat room. I like some of these chats. One of them coming from Robert Wardell. Boycott the NBA. They stole the Sonics. Well, you know what? Seattle should get a team anyways. It no matter if it's a matter of when they're going to get one. That was a great franchise. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't get their stadium situation resolved in a timely manner after they had a long time. But when they get it again, I can guarantee the Sonics will be one of the most premier franchise on the planet. Joshua Dor, well, yes, Leo, you should be a permanent addition to the show. Look at this. You're already a hit to begin with. Not that I had any doubt working with you on Ralph's show, and also agree, Robert Wardell feels the same way. Let's see, Leo. Now you're building a following here. My goodness. Seriously, dude. All right. You know what, Bo? This is your topic. Why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
Yeah. So to your point, Leo, the officiating has been wildly inconsistent. So I get
to it, Bo. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I get the frustration for sure. But on the other end of it, he throws his heating pad. It doesn't actually hit him, but then it slides onto the floor under the players that are in motion, right? So you could legitimately hurt somebody doing this. So they give him $100,000 fine, which is nothing for an NBA player. He makes that $100,000 in the first quarter of one game. So that's not going to affect him in any way, right? But here's where the argument gets interesting, because say that doesn't hit the floor and slide past him, say it hits him in the back, you're getting suspended. Like you're making contact with a ref. You're getting suspended for sure, right? That thing slides onto the floor, and rather than the player, kicking it, he steps on it. He's done for the series, right? You're certainly getting suspended for that. So now all of a sudden you're setting a weird precedent, because now you're levying your disciplinary action on the outcome, not the intent, because the intent was to hit the ref, right? So all of a sudden you're creating a weird situation where you're showing that this is actually sort of an acceptable thing to do, because you're not actually doing anything for throwing this stuff at the ref. Nothing really happened when, another player a couple days ago threw a ball at a fan. That was a $100,000 fine too. So you're not actually providing any discipline for tantrums, right? So, I mean, the last thing you need is a $100,000 fine that these guys can pay in their sleep. You need to do something that actually affects the team, so that from within, they want these guys to kind of step in line a little bit. Because if tantrums and throwing stuff are now okay, you're going to see some pretty ugly stuff on basketball court.
Well,
question while we're at this. Do you think maybe the NBA didn't want to suspend him because the thought of Minnesota going on instead of Denver is not what the NBA wants?
Well, there's no doubt. So I mean, and here's kind of the weird thing about it is if your plan was we need all our stars because we need the eyes on the TVs, right? So then do you apply that suspension to next year? Right? In the regular season, nobody's watching anyway. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you still do the fine. And then at the beginning of next season, you do a 3 to 5 game suspension for throwing stuff. Right? But for you to just be like, hey, it's $100,000 fine and that's it. And these guys make that lacing their shoes up. It doesn't do anything.
All right. Well, you know what? Let me go out there and bring up a past situation that George and I are all too familiar with. Laren LeGros throwing at Burt Campaneris, okay? Laren LeGros, obviously, I remember talking to Burt Campaneris about it many years ago, ironically in Tampa at El Lopez Field while I was working for the Tampa Tribune. Burt Campaneris throws a bat at him, okay? And then Burt Campaneris gets to play in the World Series, and then he served his suspension the first week of the year. Who cares? Now, I'm going to simplify this whole topic under 1 or 2 sentences. And by the way, I like what Robert Wardell said. Officiating is crap because of Vegas. The fix is always in. Pretty hard to go out there and argue against that comment. Good one. I really like that. But here's what you got. Okay, ready? And then I'll hand it over to George and we'll wrap this puppy up. Number 1, here's what the difference is. David Stern would have suspended. Adam Silver to me is a, yes man to the players. Okay, so all you have to do to summarize this topic is David Stern versus Adam Silver. Discussion over. Period. George, take it from there.
Well, I'm not going to stop at that. I'll take it a step further, okay? Mark Davis was the referee. Mark has a lot of experience in the NBA. Say what you want about the officiating, but what Michael Malone did and the way he ran out of that court and went face to face and jaw to jaw, and you mean to tell me Malone doesn't get a fine for that behavior? Come on. This is terrible. This is terrible. I agree with you, Scott, the way Silver's running this league. There's no consistency on the calls. There's no consistency, like you guys said, Bo and Leo, on the suspensions or the amount of the fine. And you are absolutely spot on, Bo. You're leaving your sport susceptible now for all kinds of bad stuff happening, okay? Scott and I know. We saw the malice at the Palace. We lived through that era here in Detroit and Auburn Hills. And I'm telling you, you're spot on, because now what you're doing, you let Malone got away with it, okay? Going jaw to jaw with official. Come on. We all know that, you get a technical foul if you run on the court. I don't care if there was a timeout or not. That was uncalled for. So, yeah, there's no consistency. The league has so many problems, and one of them definitely is officiating, Scott.
Yeah, and I haven't been to an NBA game in a while. Don't regret it one bit. But here's the thing, okay? I want physicality in the bad boy eras and defense, not patty cake, baker's man basketball. And I leave it at that. All right, Candy, why don't you go ahead and give us one more preview, and then everybody can let everybody know they get a hold of themselves. Great show tonight, and great to have Leo and Bo on at the same time. I hope you guys take this show and build upon it later on as we go all along. So, Rocket Scientist, welcome to the big show, even though it's just about over. What's up, Leo? You know what? You'll be a good one, Rocket Scientist, to watch this broadcast all over again. That way you can miss out on the 2 new stars in the building here, or at least on the set. Go ahead, Candy. Take over, promote us, and everybody gets to do what they want to do, and then go on to their respective shows afterwards. Go ahead, Candy.
So Scott wrote a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It talks about how media has changed over the course of his 40-plus years in the business. It's a must-read. Buy it on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Google Books, or Apple Books. If you like this podcast, listen to us, share us on any of the podcast platforms, whether it be iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, CastBox, Deezer, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Go check us out. If you like this YouTube channel, there's a red subscribe button. If you see that, that means you have not subscribed to us yet. And I ask you, why haven't you? Hit that button, subscribe, like, and share us with all your friends and family and anybody you think might like our channel. Monday nights is 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Tuesday nights is Inside the Pigskin. Wednesday nights is the Sports Exchange, where you will hear all different sports. Thursday nights is Pundit's Pundit, and then Fire Up, where we talk about all kinds of different sports as well. If you would like to advertise or sponsor a show, please call Scott, 954-304-4941. We have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can see Scott's writing. I take pictures. George writes. George has a book. He'll tell you about it. The other thing is tonight we launched our merchandising line. In the first comment, you can see there is a link so you can get 20% off any of our merchandise. If you want a baseball cap that has South Florida Tribune's logo on it, or if you want a sweatshirt or a jacket or a stadium seat or a mug, go out and buy it now, because our grand opening sale is 20% off. I think that's about it, Scott. Back
All
to
right,
you.
Robert, just to answer your question, right now it's on hard copy or online. We're working on the audio version. Also, for all of you folks that are on Twitter, you can follow South Florida Tribune at Tribune South. So that's at Tribune South. And Robert, hopefully you'll be on more shows with us. But boy, it's been pleasant to have you on here. With that said, Bo, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find me on all the socials at Football Talk with Bo. Of course, my YouTube channel at Football-Talk. You can see me on the Tuesday show here every Tuesday, and on Roku TV 5 days a week.
Very good. All right, Leo, let them have it.
Yeah, you go to Amped Up Sports on Facebook. I do a daily post there. And I'll tell you what, Candy, I was amazed that you did that all without taking a breath. I'll tell you what, that was, I got to meet you. Absolutely. That was impressive.
I learned from the best. I learned from Scott.
Don't worry, she'll be up in Tampa. It's only a 4-hour drive, no matter how bad my eyes are. You'll meet her. I promise you there, Leo.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know what, Scott, what people don't realize is, you and I are, we're the dinosaurs of this, but, we weren't around when Roosevelt was president. We're not talking Theodore. We're not talking Franklin. We're not that old.
You know what, Leo? You are the best. We're going to get you on more often. You're a hit in the chat room. You've always been a hit with me. So I'll find a way to get you in here by hook or by crook. I'll do it.
I need to go out to Black Rock and do it out there.
Don't worry. You know what? You and I have a date over at Black Rock when I come back to Tampa. Don't worry about that. That's a given. Don't worry about that. Okay. And we want to thank Black Rock Bar and Grill for sponsoring our show, allowing us to do 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. No, that's another show, but Inside the Pigskin over there a couple weeks ago. See, I remember all these shows. It is what it is. George, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
All right. Under the South Florida Tribune, under the Motor City Tribune banner. And at the end of my column, there's always a little link that you can click on. And Candy was referring to the book I wrote, which is now several years old, but it's still a good book. Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, and a younger Scott Morganoff and a younger George Eichhorn are in that book, and a younger Muhammad Ali and a living one too. Sorry about that. I didn't say it the right way, but Scott, there's some great pictures in that book as well. So you can reach me on Yahoo, gichorn@yahoo.com, and on Twitter, SanGSports99, and follow me here on 108 Stitches and the Sports Exchange, and I'm glad to be part of the network.
All right. Well, you know what? It's been great to have this group here tonight. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad we moved it up to 8 o'clock to accommodate Bo and Leo. And I always look forward to having Bo on. He's a part of our family. Leo, obviously you live in the same state, so we're going to see each other again. I have more plans to get up to Tampa to do other stuff. So meanwhile, we appreciate all the participation in the chat room. Robert Wardell, please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And also, if you're on Twitter, please follow us at Tribune South and everybody else as well. So meanwhile, on behalf of Bo Crouch, George Eichhorn, Leo Haggerty, my name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Tomorrow night, we have Pundit. So we're going to have a great show tomorrow night. And Fire Up and Candy's going to be a part of that. So Leo, Bo, great to have you on the same. And I hope you guys can do more after the show is over with. So God bless everybody, and thanks a lot for joining us. Good night, everybody.
Good night.